Driving while under the influence of drugs, penalties for impaired driving, Part 2. Using drugs while driving. In the United States, drug driving is becoming a bigger issue. Federal and state law enforcement authorities find it difficult to address the issue of driving impairment since there are so many different legal and illicit substances that can do so. The drug that is most frequently discovered in toxicology results of drunk drivers, accident victims, and those involved in fatal crashes is marijuana. The list of compounds discovered in impaired drivers also prominently includes prescription drugs such as benzodiazepines, narcotic medicines, and amphetamines, like Ritalin. Drugs, unlike alcohol, have effects that vary so widely that it is nearly difficult to determine a complete legal limit at which people cannot drive while under the influence of a drug. Additionally, if a police officer stops a person on suspicion of DWI, a breathalyzer test may not be able to identify numerous intoxicating substances. As a result, when it comes to using legal drugs, it is up to the drivers to decide if they are fit to drive. Sadly, a lot of drivers aren't even aware that the drugs they're taking could make them less able to drive. Many prescription and over-the-counter drugs can impair one's ability to drive at quite modest amounts. Discuss the potential effects on your ability to drive with your doctor before taking any new drug or increasing the dosage of an existing one. You must also keep an eye on your own physical and mental health because some people are sensitive to specific medications and can experience side effects at far lower doses. Every other road user they come across on their route will be at risk of suffering a major injury or losing their life if that individual is driving while under the influence of drugs. The National Survey on Drug Use and Health, which was conducted in 2014, found that teenagers and young adults are most at risk for driving while under the influence of drugs. Statistics: 10.2 million adults, 12 and older, acknowledged engaging in drug driving at least once in the year before the study. The most common age range for young adults to drive while under the influence of drugs was found to be 18 to 25. 10% of people between the ages of 18 and 25 reported to using drugs at least once in the year before the survey. Teenagers and young adults are most likely to die or suffer major injuries in a drug-related collision, in addition to being the most likely to drive while impaired by drugs. Teenagers take risks naturally since they have little life experience. Additionally, they lack the advantages of having a wealth of driving experience to aid with risk identification and safe decision-making. The combination of substance impairment and these pre-existing disabilities is a prescription for tragedy and disaster. Prescription drugs. So who decides how and when it's okay to consume a drug legally? The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, are in charge of that. FDA. These two federal authorities rank chemicals under the Controlled Substances Act, which will be the subject of our next essay, based on a substance's potential for damage, whether it has medical applications, how likely it is to be abused, and its international status. A substance can only be used in certain ways if it is regulated by the law. 5 schedules make up the Controlled Substances Act. The most hazardous medications are listed under Schedule I. The danger and level of regulation of the pharmaceuticals decreases steadily as we move through Schedules II to V. A drug may be, depending on which schedule it belongs to. All usage save for scientific research are forbidden. Legal with a prescription for medical use, but automated refills are prohibited. With a prescription, it is legal for medicinal use, but it can only be renewed 5 times and for a period of time that cannot exceed 6 months following the initial prescription. Legal without a prescription for medical use. Most prescription and recreational medications are covered by the Controlled Substances Act. Unscheduled chemicals, or those that are not included in the Act, can nonetheless be quite dangerous. The 2 finest examples of this are undoubtedly alcohol and cigarettes, which, although killing thousands of people a year and having no known medicinal benefits, are nonetheless available for purchase and recreational use by any adult in the nation. Types of drugs and their consequences. The effects of various drug types on your body and mind are covered in Part 3 of this subject. Thousands of different medications, some of which are naturally occurring, derived from plants, are being employed for research, medical treatment, and recreational activities, made in a laboratory. Based on how they affect the central nervous system, the great majority of these drugs fall into one of three categories. Drugs that act as stimulants hasten the body's natural processes. Drugs that are depressants slow down the body's natural functions. The body's normal functions may be sped up or slowed down by hallucinogenic medications, which can also result in hallucinations. The specific effects of a stimulant, depressive, or hallucinogen vary depending on the substance in question as well as a wide range of additional circumstances, such as the user's physical and mental well-being, the user's mental condition, the medication's dosage. After the drug is taken, additional chemicals enter the user's bloodstream. All substances have the potential to result in short-term distress, long-term health difficulties, issues with mental health, and impaired driving. Drugs that might lead to physical or psychological dependence are especially risky because users may continue to use them despite harmful side effects and potential health risks.